Let us begin. You want to have it later on Wednesday?
I'm thinking it might be a little problem because later there's all the Sudot are starting. After Megillah, then
you're not getting.
So what is it?
No, he's talking about the next day after Purim.
Oh, Wednesday. Oh, by then I feel like everything is going to be... Oh, by then everything is back to normal though. I'm back to work, back to the campus leave.
Yeah, he's saying you're tired in the morning from... Yeah. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akelim b'dvaroi.
Amen.
We should mention the Elu Nishmat Yosef ben Moshe HaKohen.
Yep.
And Menachem Mendel.
Shaya Simcha
ben Menachem Mendel. The Rafeg Beth Shmuel. Menachem Mendel ben Cholon. And we'd like to thank Michael Ben Melech for bringing these beautiful highlighters, notebooks, pens, so everybody could enhance the kiyum of Limud Shabbos, Limud HaTorah, and the kiyum of Shabbos itself. Keeping Shabbos is gewaldige schus. It should be a schus for all of Klal Yisrael on Tainis Esther here, and we should be zeicha to the Geula Shlema b'mheir v'yomeinu karev. Okay. Amalei Rav Matna le'Abaye. So how many cases do we have in the Mishnah? We have what? 2 that turn into 4 for the ani outside, and 2 that turn into 4 for the balabayit, which is inside. 2 means deoraita for the ani outside. He can do 2 things now that will end him up in serious trouble, deoraita issues. He can do another 2 that will be the rabbanan of doing just the akira and not doing the hanacha. Everybody knows what I mean when I say akira, the uprooting, and hanacha, the placing down. Same for the balabayit. There are 2 ways for him in his situation indoors to be able to do the full malacha. There are 2 ways for him to do the full malacha. Either he starts from indoors and places it outdoors, or he puts his hand outside, takes it from the outdoors, places it indoors, then he's doing the akira and the hanacha. There are an additional 2 cases where he can add and only do the akira. So basically, everybody has 4 cases. Half of them are doraita, half of them are derat. Altogether, 8.
Basically, if one person does the whole action by himself,
it's doraita.
going inside or going outside, that's doraita.
Because you're doing the uprooting and the placing. Exactly. And you do half, you do 2. Okay, so the question is, the question of the Gemara is an amazing question. Gemara says, Hatami have it? Tarti today have it. That's not, so you shouldn't have 8 cases, you should have 12, right? Because we missed 4 cases. Why did you only, because let's talk about the 2 additional cases. The 2 cases that you're doing everything, so you're the only man, you're the only show in town, you're doing everything. Of course, you're chayav deoraita. There are 2 cases for the only 2 cases. Gemara is not talking about those 2 for a second. But the Gemara is saying that on the additional 2, let's talk about the case. Let's say I'm the ani, you're the balabait. Okay, this is the indoors, this table. So I do the akira. I take the item, and it's sitting here in the Reshut HaRabim. I pick it up, and I take it out of that Reshut. I do the akira, but I haven't placed it down. Now, you take it out of my hand, and you put it down. So there's the case that I'm being over on an Issa D'Rabbanan. Now, but the Mishnah didn't count that as a case for Amnon. That he also did an Issa D'Rabbanan. He did hanacha. He did the other half.
You bring it inside or not? Or is it still the outside?
What?
Are we still from outside to inside?
I went for, the same one case. I went from outside. I did half. Okay, I didn't do the second half. But he did the second half. That wasn't ever mentioned. The only cases that are mentioned for the D'Rabbanans is when I do half of an Akira, and then again, another case was when I did the Akira out, or you did the Akira out. right? And then there was no, but the hanacha was not done by the same person. The hanacha was never mentioned.
There's 2 more extra, you think, for each
Just
one.
2 more for each one, which is 4 more altogether.
That's 12.
In every one of these cases, Rabbatai, if you look at any of the cases you could go back to the Mishnah, of the last 4 cases, where it says they're both patur, because they both didn't do both parts. Neither of them did both parts. Let's say the first case. Pashata ani et yeluftim v'natal balabayit mitucha. O shenatan letucha v'hotzi shneim pturin. Now, in each one of those cases, why is there only one? Why is that only one case? It's one case for the ani, but there's another case for the other guy. Each guy is doing half. So all those stories with his halves should be called 2 stories. One story is my story, it's my book, my biography, and one story is your story. But it doesn't count them. It only counts the person that started the whole thing. What's going on? So much so, I'll tell you how strong this kasha is. The Gemara later on, in a few minutes, is going to ask that actually the guy who finished he only did half, should be chayav deoraita, because the malacha has been completed through him. So who cares that he wasn't involved in the beginning? The point is that the transportation has been completed through him. So the hanacha you're leaving out, and now the Gemara is not asking that strong. I'm just like l'saber et ha'ozen, making it stronger. How could you not mention and use those cases? So really in the last 4 cases, you divide every one of those 2 cases in 2 people is 8 cases. So there should have been 12 cases in the Mishnah and not 8. There's an additional 4. Because the last 4 cases have another 4 cases. So there's an additional 4.
I don't understand between the last 4. What's the difference between they share the action? That's another 4 cases, right?
Yeah, but it's only counting those cases, those 4 stories, they're only counting them as 4 stories. But really, if you look at the individuals, there's really 8 stories going on, because in each story, it's not 1 story. It's 2.
People, it's what's
Yeah, for each of the person, it's a separate story. I did the Akira, but you did the Hanacha. But it only counted as 1 Isur D'Rabbanan. Why are you counting it as 1 Isur D'Rabbanan? I have an Isur D'Rabbanan, and you have an Isur D'Rabbanan. Look, it would be worth looking at the Mishnah for a second. Oh, I better finish this quickly. I realize how little time we have over here. I just have to cool it down. Oh, thank you so much. No.
Oh, so 4 cases for the ani, and it's 4 cases for the
Yeah. Not 2 more cases for the ani and 2 more cases for that balabayit. Every case that you add for the ani is also a case added for the balabayit. But seemingly the Mishnah only wants to add the cases for the ani where the ani started. And the only cases we want to add for the balabayit is when the balabayit started, meaning he did the akira. What happened to the hanachot? What happened to the hanachot? They're gone. They're not mentioned in the Mishnah. So that's question number 1. So the Gemara says back to the one who's asking the question, morning David, 623. So the Gemara asks back to the one asking the question. It should be 16. Had you added 4 cases, you shouldn't be adding 4 cases. You should be adding 8 more cases. You know why? Now, this is not so complicated. Don't get scared of the numbers. It's going back to the beginning of the Mishnah. The Doraita cases, where I do everything. In that case, there's also another halacha about you. What did you do? Nothing. You did nothing. So that also should be a case. It should be a case that it should be mentioned. There's 2 stories here. I am chayav 100%, and the story on your perspective is 100% nothing, but it's not mentioned. So how many? But it should be mentioned, and if it would be mentioned. So the Gemara is saying, if you really, really want to be so accurate and ask that every case should be mentioned, why are you asking about 12 that there's an additional 4 cases? you should really be asking if there's 16 cases. So if you want to ask a question, ask it like a mensch. Don't miss out some details.
Or what I said yesterday, why just not make clear categories? Category 1, Category 2, Category 3, Category 4. And Category 1 and Category 2 is Isur D'Oraita, and Category 3 and 4, or Category 3 is D'Rabanan, and Category 4 is 0, because the Malabai does nothing in 2 cases, and Ani does nothing in 2 cases. That's nothing, that's no Isur at all.
The Mishnah kind of did that.
It's very easy, like this. It's very simple. Then.
I think they wanted to encapsulate it with a sentence. So you should remember how many are Doraita, how many are Rabanan.
Yeah.
So it's encapsulated by saying, Shtayim Shein Arba. You'll always remember, wherever you are in your life, if you're in Rishut HaYachid or Rishut HaRabim, you'll always remember, there's 2 things that I can do right now that could be Mamash Doraita. There's another 2 that I can do that are Rabanan. That way you'll have the whole, and then from there you'll be able to write it out. Okay.
When the action is done by one person, it's the Raita. When it's shared, then it's the Rabbanan.
Exactly. And the question in the Gemara was, when it's shared and it's the Rabbanan, why are you only calling that as one case? That's 2 cases. Each guy has a Rabbanan. Yeah, okay. So that was. So the Gemara is asking on the question, why do you feel that there's only an additional 4? There's additional 8. Okay, Amalei Halei Kasha. So he said that doesn't bother me. You want to know why I didn't say 16 when I asked the question, and only you said 12? I'm sorry that I keep drinking just to have another minute.
Keep drinking,
man. Keep drinking. Okay. Nefesh kol choy baruch chei ha'ilomim. All right, let's fast. Let's start the journey now. So the Gemara says, you know why I didn't ask about 16? Amalei Halei Kasha. You know why I only asked about 12? That didn't bother me. Bishlam above the reisha potter umuter loikatoni. That's why I didn't. I'll above the sefer the potter. I will also kasha. Okay. The Bava Deresha, those added 4 that you said, you should have said 16, because in the first 2 cases that I'm Chayav Doraita or you're Chayav Doraita, there's another perspective here. There's the guy that's Patur. She should have counted that as a number, meaning one guy is Chayav and there's another story. The other guy is Patur. That's a story. That's a halacha. The Gemara says, no, we're not counting that because there's nothing. It's not Patur and Astur. It's patur and mutar, meaning if I'm standing outside and you place the item into my hand, so you did the akira and you did the hanacha. And what did I do? Nothing. I just made it passable. I was me'afsher. I made it shayach. I gave you a possibility for you to do the malacha, but I didn't do any malacha. So that's not a story that we count as a number here.
Question: what are you going to do with the item now? Are you going to put it down? You have to do something with the item.
It's already down. That's the truth. It's down. Because that's why the other guy's chayav, because he placed it down. Because since we're going to talk about that later, but it's considered down. Yeah, so you could just put it down.
Okay,
so now you can put it down.
Okay, fine.
So it's already down. Now,
that last part doesn't mean anything.
Right, because it's already down.
It's already down.
Yeah. So, but the Gemara is saying that the reason why we don't count that is because it's nothing. There's no significance to that. It's 100% mutar. by the way, I thought someone was going to ask me now, mutar? Are you serious? I mean, you're doing, I think maybe someone asked me this yesterday. Lifnei iver. You're allowing a Jew to sin. You enable him, you help him. And it says, before a blind man, do not place a stumbling block. And the Gemara learns that. That doesn't just mean a blind man with a stumbling block, but it means averot, placing a sin in front of a person. So, there's a Tosfot about it here on the top left, but I want to tell you the Tosfot Shanim's teretz, which is on your right, actually. I would actually highlight that little aleph at Tosfot Shanim. Because it's very, very... He says... See, I think it should be on your right side of the column. Maybe you have it on your left. Tosfot Shanim, wherever you have it. He says, Yeshtoma de mikol makam le'isru Shabbat patur umutar. He says, you're right. There is, of course, an isur. Tosfot has it. There's an isur, 100%. So what does the Gemara mean, mutar? It's mutar. I'll tell you what it means. In perspective, in Shabbat laws, it's mutar. Which means if all the psukim of the Torah were written about Shabbat, with all of their details and all of the derabanans and all everything, you would be allowed to do what you're doing. So why are you not? So that's what it means. It's mutar under the auspices of Shabbat. We're learning Shabbat here. The Mishnah wants to teach you Shabbat laws. Shabbat laws, not only is it exempt, but it's 100% okay. There's not even a smidget of a derabanan, of an isur here. There's nothing in the Shabbat laws. Now, is it asur? Says the Tosfot Yishanim to the question. Yes, it's asur. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to allow, help, benefit, aid in someone's doing Averah, and you're not allowed to place a stumbling block before him. But that's not Hilchot Shabbat. That's a general law. Hilchot lifnei iver lo timech mishal. This Mishnah doesn't want to count Averot. This Mishnah is counting Shabbat Averot. In Shabbat Averot, it's not only that you're exempt, but it's 100% mutar. The laws of Shabbat allow you. The laws of Lifnei Iver don't allow you.
Could you say it's called a chomer for Shabbat? Already b'chol, it's asur. All the more so Shabbat, because we're much more stringent on Shabbat. So all the more so it's isur. You could also argue the other way.
Which isur? But which isur?
By enabling him, by putting a stumbling block in front of him.
So the Tosfot Shanim says it's true. Maybe Daniel, you're saying maybe it's even worse. It's Shabbat, it's holier. It's worse. Because you're enabling him to do such a great Avirah of Shabbat.
Right.
Good. But at the end of the day, what the Tosfot Shanim is saying is you're not violating any Shabbat laws. Maybe you're violating a worse, like I'm going to use your term, even a worse Lifnei Iver Lo Titei Michshol. But it's not a Shabbat law. It's a general law. And our Mishnah is counting Shabbat laws. That's what it's saying. So therefore it is true that it's mutar. So when it says mutar in the Gemara, it means mutar under the lens of Shabbat. Shabbat-wise, it's mutar. Two good categories. Okay. So the Gemara says, that's why I didn't want to ask about the first 4 cases, which were Doraita, and say, there's another story here because the guy's patur there's also a story about him. No, that guy is 100% okay. There's no story about it. There's nothing significant. But that's why I asked about 12. Says the Gemara, what's the question about 12, Rabbatai? Let's just review it. But there is an additional 4 cases because in the last 4 cases of the Mishnah, where he's only being chayav for doing half, there's the other side of the story, the other guy that helped him do it. How come we don't mention him? If we would have mentioned him, then those last 4 stories would have been split, each one, and there would have been 8 more stories. So it should have really said, Shtayim Shehein Sheish, Ushtayim Shehein Sheish. 6 plus 6 is 12. Altogether, there's 2 that I can do that Doraita, but I can really do. There's another, but there's another 4 cases like this, and there's another 4. So it's really 12. So the Gemara says, wait, and the Gemara is still not happy. It says, "Mi'ika b'kuli Shabbos patur mutar." You're trying to get out of my. You're saying that you didn't ask 16. Why haven't you asked 16? Because those are 100% mutar. The last 4 that you want to add. You only asked about the drabanans. Says the Gemara, it's not true. We have a rule. And this rule is being said on Daf Gimel, Amud Aleph, and we mentioned it yesterday, and that's what we'll remember it for the rest of Shabbat. V'ha'amar Shmuel, kol peturei de Shabbat patur aval asur. Every patur in Shabbat means you're exempt, but you're still transgressing a rabbinic violation. If it ever wants to tell you that you're allowed to do something on Shabbat, you know how it's mentioned in the Gemara in Mishnayot Shabbat? It says, Adam oseh, a man does this on Shabbat. A man may go and do this action. If it ever says the word patur, a man is exempt, and it didn't say clearly a positive thing, go do this, then what it's saying is like this. You're not chayav skila, you don't deserve the death penalty. And if you do it inadvertently, you're not chayav, you're patur from a korban. But the rabbi said don't do it. Now, why the rabbi say don't do it? Usually it's a gzeirah, so you shouldn't come to do an isur d'oraita. So, let's go back to our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says, first case, the ani places his hand inside from outside. Okay, I'm going to act it out. Like this, I'm outside. This thing is resting outside. I lift it up. I put it down onto your hand. So I did everything. I did the akira and I did the hanacha. So I'm chayav. I'm known as patur. We have a rule. If it says patur, it means he's not allowed to do what he's doing. It's asur. Shabbat-wise even. Not just liftei iver. Shabbat-wise, it's asur for him to do what he's doing. Because we have a rule that every time it says patur, it means asur. So your way out, you said, we're not going to count his patur, because his patur is mutar. That's what the Gemara said. Shabbat-wise, it's 100% okay what he's doing. It's not true. Says the Gemara, it's not okay, because we have a rule that every time it says patur, it means asur. Besides 3 cases. What's the cases? Say that tzvi. I'll say them quickly. The case over there in the Mishnah, Daf Kozayin, is that a deer runs into your home. Okay? So you sit by the door, and you don't let him out. So whoever sits by the door gets the chayav. He's doing the melacha of tzad, tzeidah, trapping. Now what about if I sit next to him? I go I sit like, so had he not been there, I would be doing the trapping. But I'm not doing the trapping. Because he's already trapping him. So there, the Mishnah says patur. And there, you know what patur means? Mutar. It doesn't just mean patur. I'm so patur, it's 100% mutar. That's one of the exceptions, when patur means totally permissible. Okay, so much so, I want to tell you a chidush. That is an act.
He's just standing next to the guy.
No, he went to place himself there. That he didn't act, but the action is an action that is permissible. Even though it says patur, it doesn't just mean exempt from the obligations of bringing a korban or getting the death penalty. He's permitted to do what he did. So much so that if you walk away, if the first guy walks away and the second guy just remains there, is no problem. Because the action that he did was done with permission. That's case number 1, where patur means permitted. Tzeidat nachash umapis musa is you trap a snake when you were not in danger of being bitten by the snake. So the Chachamim said you're still allowed to trap it. And they didn't just say patur. You're not being. By the way, why are you patur? Why isn't that trapping? Because you didn't trap it for the sake of getting the snake. You don't care about the snake. You don't want to eat the snake, and you don't want to use the snake. You just don't want the snake to bite you. So that's not called a malacha that you're chayav for. We'll talk about that later. And it's actually permitted. And the third case where patur means not just exempt permitted is umapis musa. Okay, what does that mean? Mapis musa means when you break a wart open, you make a little hole so that the pus should leak out, and the Gemara says that it's okay, it's not a real malacha, and not only is it not a real malacha, but it's not even isur d'rabanan. Okay. Because it's refuah, so the Chachamim allowed it 100%. They relaxed their Isur D'Rabbanan. But we're not going to get into these three cases so much. The point is that those are the three exceptions where patur means mutar. Otherwise, if it ever says patur in Shabbat, it means that the rabbis decreed that it's still a prohibited act. So that means that the story that I just showed you with Amnon, placing Amnon is also being over an Isur D'Rabbanan.
These are the only three cases where patur means allowed?
Well, Tosfot asks, if you really want to know, he asks that there's a case that you say a Bamemad Likin every week.
In general, when we read somewhere in Halakha,
Patur.
in Shulchan Aruch, patur, what is the meaning of that?
Well, Shmuel's rule is called Paturi de Shabbat.
Only Shabbat.
So it could be that other Paturim does mean mutar. But Tosfot asks, I thought you were going to ask from what we say on, the Sfardim also say Bamemad Likin, right? Okay, just Chassim don't say it. We also say it. Usually the Sfardim and the Hasidim do very similar things, and the Ashkenazim don't. But here, the Ashkenazim and the Sfardim do the same thing. We say Bamad Likin, Medina de Gemara. So over there it says Hamichabet Haner Mipnei Shu Mit Yarei, right? From listim, or for a chole patur. And the Gemara says, why are you allowed to put out a candle for a chole? Because tzar, and it says chole sheyesh bo sakana. So sakana, it's not just when it says patur, it means mutar. It's a mitzvah. So Tosfot asks, that's another case where patur is mutar. So the first answer Tosfot says, that's pashut. They didn't even have to mention that, Shmuel. It's not like four cases. Tosfot answer, there's four. That one you don't have to mention is pikuach nefesh. That's coming from a whole different set of laws. That we mean when there's no pikuach nefesh involved. There's only three exceptions. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara. So, ki tzachei l'shmul peturi de ka'avid maseh, peturi de lo ka'avid maseh iketuva. So Daniel, here's a very important law. You keep asking me, are there any more? There's no more. So the Gemara's answer is like this. There are plenty of cases in Shabbat where it says patur and it means mutar. What? I thought you just told me it always means asur besides three. No. When there's an action involved, there are only three exceptions. But when there's no action involved and it says patur, Shmuel doesn't have to even mention that. They expect you to understand that patur means mutar. So in this story that I just demonstrated, when I put it into Amnon's hand, again, we're not dealing with lifnei iver. We're not dealing with the Aveirah, that he's helping me, aid me in Aveirah. We're dealing strictly with under the lens of Shabbat laws. Is he being over on anything to do with carrying? Hotza'ah? No. So the Gemara says, if you don't do an action, it's 100% mutar. He's not doing an action. He's enabling. That's a different problem. But patur may mean permissible. And since over here in our Mishnah, patur means permissible, therefore we didn't want to count that as a number. Because Amnon there's not a story about Amnon. Amnon is doing nothing. It's 100% mutar for Amnon to do what he's doing.
So he's not included in this whole thing.
He's not included, and that's why we're not going to add those additional four cases. So that's why we're back to that. The Gemara is just explaining why he asked about 12 and not 16. So the Gemara says, okay, fine. Now I hear why you didn't want to go for 16. But 12, go for. Says the Gemara, okay, so what's the answer to my original question? What do you want to ask? So the Gemara says, so what are we asking? Let's just repeat the question. Question is on the end of the Mishnah. On the four last cases, which were Isurei D'Rabbanan, two, where I began, the Ani began.
What are the four cases again? Sorry.
The four cases are that I do the Akira, but you do the Hanacha. Those are two cases that I could do the Akira and you could do the Hanacha. And there are two cases that you could do the Akira and I do the Hanacha. But we keep counting them as four, meaning, two cases that I could do the Akira and two cases that you could do the Akira. And what about the fact that you did Hanacha in two cases and I did Hanacha in two cases? Those are additional 4 cases. Because in every one of these cases, when I do the Akira and you do the Hanacha, how many stories is that? How many Isurim are there? There's one Isur for me to do the Akira, but there's another Isur for you to do the Hanacha. The Hanachas are silent in the Mishnah. Had the Hanachas been counted, there would be really 8 stories, 8 Isurei Dirabanan in the Mishnah. Not 4 more. So the Gemara answers, we don't want to count those. You know why? You're 100% right. The person that did the Hanacha is being over on Isur Dirabanan. But our Mishnah only counts Isur Dirabanan Peturi de'ata b'lidei chiyuv chatat kachashiv. Only Isur Dirabanan that can one day end up turning into a chiyuv chatat. Which means, I went like this. I go like this. I did the Akira. Did I finish yet? No. So right now, was I over on something? Yes. Half. I did half an action. So it's Dirabanan, Akira. Now, take it out. And you put it down. So now he did the Hanacha. So now, which one of us two were over Isur Dirabanan? Both. But which one could have done the whole Malacha? No. Me. I could have, if in the middle, if you would have came, hey, let me take that. I'd say, no, I'm going to put it down. So I could end up being over on the Isur D'Oraita. That's a much scarier D'Rabanan. So the Chachamim counted those, the Akirot. But Amnon, when he gets into the picture, it's too late for him to ever, meaning when he wants to finish this act of transportation from out to in, he can never end up doing the whole Avirah. The most he can get to is Isur D'Rabanan, because what's he going to do? Put it down. That's only half. I, however, when I start, that's really dangerous at that moment. Because not only am I being over Isur D'Rabanan, but it's possible for me to be over Isur D'Oraita. That's why we counted only the Akirot. So the Akirot, there are 2 cases for the Ani and 2 cases for the Ashir. The Hanachot, we know the Asur, but the Mishnah wasn't counting them. That's the Gemara's answer. Got it? Okay, so the Gemara asks now, Shneim Pturin, by the way, these are like really great yisodot on this page. The beginning of Shabbat, these are like foundational things. We're about to learn the next answer. The Gemara asks the question now. The way Tosfot learns the question, I'm going to learn the way Tosfot learns. It says Shnehem Pturin. Now, Tosfot says it's not going back on the Mishnah. It's going back, Tosfot says, that in this case that we just said right now, okay? Let's just carry out the case. Look, I go like this, I do half, now you take it. So now Amnon did the Hanacha. Says the Gemara, 1 second. You just told me Amnon's Dirabanan is, we're not considering that one. It's Asur, but the Mishnah wants to talk about Akirot that could bring to a Chatat. Amnon's Dirabanan can't ever get to a Chiyuv Chatat. Says the Gemara, that is Chiyuv Chatat. The Mishnah calls it Shnei Pturim. We're both Patur. Patur means Deoraita. But it's counted as Mike's story, because I'm getting an Isur D'Rabanan. We're both Patur from Deoraitas, because we only did half, but we're going to count it as a number for me, because I did the Akira. The Gemara says, Amnon's Patur? Amnon should be Chayav 100% Deoraita. Why? Because he finished the act. The Melacha has been completed through Amnon. So let him be Chayav 100%. So the Gemara answers, listen to this Yisod. This is a Yisod for the whole Shabbat. Tanya Rabbi Omer me'am ha'aretz ba'asotah. The Pasuk says, when someone from the nation, ba'asotah, when he does the whole melacha, ha'oset kula, v'lo ha'oset miktzata. The pasuk over there is talking about if a soul sins inadvertently, so he brings a korban chatat. Over there it says, ba'asota. And the Rebbe is doresh the word ba'asot ota. You have to do the whole melacha. If a person does half a melacha, even if he completed the melacha, okay, he's the one that actually brought it to its completion, to its fruition. You know, like we say by a mitzvah, it's haylech acha gemar. You go after the end of the mitzvah. The mitzvah is done by the one that it's done. I could have helped start it and everything, but at the end of the day, the mitzvah, you did it. It's very nice. But by Isurei Shabbat, the Isur Deoraita is only if you did the whole thing. If you needed the help of someone else to do the malacha, you did the first half. Yachid v'asa ota chayav. Shnayim v'asu ota pturin. If one person did the whole thing, fine. But if the first two people did it, the first person did the first half, the second did the second half, patur. Itvenami amar Rabchia bagamda. Nizukami pichabura v'amru ba'asota. It was thrown out from the mouth of the chabura, and everybody agreed. Ba'asota yachid she'asta chayav, shnayim she'asu pturin. Okay. Rabotai, we are basically done the numbers. So if you were, if it was bothering you, here we're getting into regular Geshmak and Lam still. Preliminary Rav Mirabi.
What was the main foundation you wanted to say? What's the main idea? The last part you just said? The big thing?
The idea that we just learned this is that the malacha, we're going to see much of this law throughout Shabbat, B'ezrat Hashem, in all sorts of different. There's going to be a few dapim on this, but the law is that in Hilchot Shabbat, in order to be chayav, you have to do the entire malacha, complete malacha yourself.
Yeah.
Chayav always means, whenever I say the word chayav, it means either if you do it b'mezid, you're chayav skila or karet if there were no witnesses, and if you did it inadvertently, you're chayav to bring a korban. Whenever you hear the word chayav, it means deoraita. If something is just prohibited by the rabbis, the terminology is asur. If you hear the word chayav, you're obligated. Deoraita. That's a very important, because we're going to say that for the entire, masechet Shabbat, and then the next masechet also in Erevin. B'ezrat Hashem. Okay.
What else for the
No, so chayav means that if you did it b'mezid, with edim is skila, without edim is karet, and b'shogeg, you're going to be chayav to bring a korban chatat. Whenever there's karet, the rule is whenever there's karet in the Torah, a sin that's karet, and you did it by mistake, there's chatat. Okay?
David has like 12 questions.
Yeah.
Just listen.
Okay. Let's get a few more minutes in over here. Rav asked a question of Rebbe. The great Rav, the greatest Amora, and the great Tana. Rav was a Talmud of Rebbe. He said, Hitinu chavero, ochlinu mashkin. Someone's standing indoors with his friend, and he places. Someone goes over to me. I'm about to walk outside, and he puts this on my shoulder, like this. Yeah. My friend says, "Hey, what's doing? Hey, you're going over there to the Highland Lake Shul? Okay, fine. Let me see how good you are at balancing this." We're both inside, and he places the food on me. Okay. And now I bring it out. Mahu. What's the halacha? It's a very fundamental shaila here. In the halacha of hotzah, You should know, I'm going to tell you a little secret. There's no melacha spoken about. There's no sugya in Shas. No sugya in Shas. Or specific sugya about a specific isur. It's spoken about as much as the isur of carrying on Shabbat. An entire Shas. Any Avirah, talk about any Avirah. There's no Avirah spoken about as much as this sugya. Because you have this Perek, then you have Perek HaZorek later on. We're going to have 2 Prakim in Shabbat that talk about the Isur Hotzah of carrying. Then you have the whole masechet Eruvin. One whole masechet about just Isur Hotzah. I mean, almost the whole Eruvin talks about it. So, this is the first question. You ready for the first Shaila? What's the halacha? I walk outside with this thing, Ami. Akirat gufo ka akirat chayfetz mimkomod Ami? Umchayav or dilmalo? Is it considered like when I uprooted my body, that I also uprooted the item from its place? It was situated here, and now I uprooted it? Or maybe not. Maybe all I'm doing is walking.
In the lifting of the body is that hira.
Right. So I'm not really doing an action of uprooting anything. I'm just walking. If that's on me, it's on me. But that was never really uprooted from its place. And therefore, it's a major nafkamina. What's the nafkamina? Am I being over doraita, the Isser of Hotzah? And even if I did it by mistake, do I have to bring a korban? Nafkamina, thank you for asking, I'm sorry if I didn't mention. Nafkamina, what's the difference? What would be the difference? Whether it's akira or not akira? The difference is, if I'm being over on Isur doraita on Shabbat, maybe this act of walking is not enough of an act of akira, of uprooting something. So, that's the Gemara's question. Amalei, so Rabbi told Rav, chayav. When you uproot your body, it's like you're uprooting the chayfetz. Okay? Now, let's talk about a case in our Mishnah.
No, it's not an action that goes vertical, because the person is already standing. We were talking before vertical, right? Up, like this. But now the person is standing and is only horizontal, moving. Is that uprooting?
Exactly. Well, it's similar to what you're saying. Gemara is saying he never really picked anything upwards. Right. He's just on him, and he's going, he's walking. Same level, he's going, he's walking. Now, there's a case in the Mishnah. I want to act it out, if you don't mind. You're going to start. He's the balabait, I'm the ani. So, yeah, put it down on here. This is indoors. Now, Amno makes an akira. Lifts it up. I stick my hand indoors. He puts it in my hand. And I go like this, and I put it down. So the Mishnah said, in that case, I am patur. The ani is patur. Remember that? So, why am I patur? He just placed food on me, and I walked outside. So why is that not? Because you see clearly that my hand is not considered an akira, an uprooting. But Rabbi just told Rav, chayav, that is uprooting. So why is that case in the Mishnah different? So he says, ve'einu dom el yado. Don't bother me about the Mishnah. It's not compared to the case of the hand. Why? Precisely because it's called the case of the hand. Meaning, the question that you asked me, Rav, said Rabbi, was when the man was indoors. The ani walked in. There's 2 men indoors now. And then he places it on my shoulder. So now I walk out. That is an akira. But here, that my hand goes in, my hand is nothing. I am here. I'm situated in Shuta Yachid. So when he places this in my hand, and my hand comes out.
Are you both inside the house?
No, I'm outside. Only my hand is indoors, over the line.
Okay, yeah, right.
Right?
Inside, yeah.
So that is not called an akira. Okay?
But obviously it's not an akira. You're not the one picking it up. He's the one really picking it up.
But why isn't it considered that I'm akira when I take it over the line? Here's the line, and I go over, I'm making an akira, taking it out. It's almost the same exact story like Rav's question. We're both indoors. You put a fruit on me. You put a basket on my head. You put things on my back. Whatever you do. And then I walk out. Rabbi said, oh, chayav. Right when you walk over, and then you stop, and the Reshut Rabim, you stop, you made an akira and hacha.
But your whole body was inside the private.
Oh. So what Michael just said exactly what Rabbi is differentiating. He says, if your body's inside and you walk out, then it's not just an act of walking, it's an act of uprooting the item from indoors to outdoors. But if you're really outdoors and your hand is indoors and then your hand brings it back out, that is not an act of akira. And what's the difference? The difference is like this. Because my hand is not resting. My hand is not resting on the ground. My hand is in the air. Right now, we're all indoors here, right? So let me just stand up for a second. And now, right now, I am resting. And my hand is resting indoors. Everything is indoors. Because my whole body is indoors. So if I go like this, if something's here, it's resting in the Reshut HaYachid. And we don't say, oh, well, this hand is like over the ear. It's not really I don't see it on the ground. I only see your feet on the ground. No, my hand is part of me and I'm on the ground. So therefore, this is on the ground. This bottle of honey is on the ground. So when I walk out, I just took it off this area. I made an akira and placed it down there as hanacha. So that is an isur d'oraita. However, if I am outdoors and my hand is indoors, so my hand is not really indoors because the body of that hand is not indoors. So my body is considered like in the ear. And therefore when it uproots it, it's not really called an uprooting. It's not uprooting. Because it wasn't, when it placed it in there, it's not on the karka, it's like in limbo. So it's not like, oh, I took you out of the Reshut HaYachid. By the time I got onto your hand, my friend, I wasn't really in the Reshut HaYachid. I was in your hand. Your hand is like in space. So when I continue, and Amnon puts this in my hand, let's just do it. So now, Amnon did the akira. He's helping out, right? And now I'm going to place this over here. I didn't do any akira. That's what Rabbi is saying. Yado is nothing. Is in between. Well, we'll talk about Yado soon. That's what Gemara is going to speak about.
It's the same way if I go in and take something from outside. If I'm outside and I just go by myself, take something and bring it out.
Oh, so we're going to talk about that very soon. Okay? Okay. So when is the hand considered resting on the ground? When the hand and the body are in the same reshut. That's it. That's what you have to remember. Okay? And the Gemara says, my timer, gufa naich, yodo lo naich. Because your body rests, but your hand is not resting on the ground. Okay? Amalei Rab Chia l'Rav bar Pachsi. Rab Chia told Rav, bar Pachti, we had this before, the son of greatness of Gedolei Torah. Lo amina lach, didn't I already tell you, ki koi Rabbi b'ha mesechta, lo teshayla b'mesechta achita. When Rabbi is learning one mesechta, don't ask him about a different mesechta. Dilma lava daite, because maybe it's really not on his mind. He's not as clear. The ilav de Rabbi gaver Rabbahu kasafte. If not for Rabbi being such a great person, you would have embarrassed him. The meshana loch shinu delav shinihu, because he could have answered something which was not correct. You're very lucky that you're talking to Rabbi, and he's so great. That even though he's learning one masechet, you could ask him about a hilchot Shabbat. But hashta miyat shape meshana loch. Now he answered you beautifully. And Rab Chia brings him a proof. Titanya hayata un ochlinu mashkin mibod yom. Person is standing indoors, and he himself placed an item on himself. Okay, before Shabbat. Okay. Vehotzi an lachutz mishachashecha. Once it turns dark, he walks outside. Chayav. He's chayav. Lefi she'eno domeh liyado. And that's not compared to the case of our Mishnah of hand. So you see clearly that the Braita says that if a person has, before Shabbat, like this, and now in 1 minute, right, I go like this. I don't have to make it so difficult. Just like this, and now, okay. Good Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. I'm just in Shabbat now. Bye bye. I gotta go to shul. Now he walks out, and he's not doing any action of taking it off the table or the ground anymore. That was done before Shabbat. We still consider it that he did an Akira now on Shabbat. So you see that walking out with something on you, even though all you're doing is the act of walking, is considered an uprooting. And you're chayav. And it's not similar to the case of Yado, because Yado is not resting like Rabbi said. I was going to drop more, but I really have to go. Amar Abaye, pshita liyado shel adam eina lo kreshut rabim v'lo kreshut hayachid. So he says an amazing thing. He starts off like this. That's pashut to me, that when my hand is in a different reshut than my body, reshut means domain. When my hand is in a different domain than my body, my hand is not like Reshut Rabim. Meaning, let's say I'm in the Reshut Rabim, and I put my hand into Reshut Hayachid, indoors. Right? This is the table, it's indoors. Let's place it inside. My hand is not the Reshut Rabim. Meaning it's not completely looked at as it's like outdoors. And it goes after my body, which is outdoors. Because it's not, it's indoors. But, v'lo kreshut hayachid. And the opposite case, when I'm standing indoors and I put it outdoors, it's not going to go after my body and be considered indoors. And he explains, Kreshut rabim lo damya miyado de'ani. I learned this from the Mishnah. The Mishnah says if the ani places his hand inside, and the balabayit takes it from him, the balabayit is patur. Look, what's the halacha of the Mishnah when I do this? Take it for me. Take it and put it down. Are you patur? Yes. Why? Because you only did half. What do you mean half? See, when it was in my hand, where am I? I'm in the Reshut Rabim. And my hand is attached to my body, so my hand is also Reshut Rabim. So when you lift it up for a second, you're doing an akira from the Reshut Rabim. And then you do an hanacha. So you should be chayav. But you're not. So what do we see from the fact that you're not? That my hand is not a Reshut Rabim. My hand is not a Reshut Rabim. If my hand was so much so attached and just is considered whatever my body is, then you would be chayav. So he says, miyado de ani. From the case of the yado of the ani, and we see Yepatur, and the same thing, Kishut Yachidu Damya, Miyado de Balabait. Same thing, the opposite. Here, do me a favor, just put this outdoors, out over this line, if you don't mind, yeah? All the way out. Now I take it, no, but have your hand like this, if you don't mind. Yeah? Now I take it from his hand, and I put it down. It says I'm Patur. Why am I Patur? His hand is attached to himself, okay, you're good. His hand is now attached to him, and he's in Reshut Hayachid. And I took it from his hand, which is part of Reshut Hayachid. No. His hand is not Reshut Hayachid. His hand is actually in the Reshut Rabim, so it's not considered completely Reshut Yachid. But maybe, so his hand is like something like, what is it? So now here's this question. Baya. Yado shel adam ma'u. Shete'asek karmelit. Maybe the Chachamim considered his hand like a prohibited new reshut. Okay? Now, what should it be considered? If I would ask you, what should it be considered? Now that I told you it's not a Reshut Yachid and it's not a Reshut Rabim, so you'd say, all right, listen. If it's not a Reshut Yachid and not a Reshut Rabim, the only thing I can think of is it's Patur. Makom Pitur. Remember, we spoke about it yesterday. It's a place that is not a private domain and it's not a public domain. You know what that is? Minat Torah. You know Minat Torah, what it is? It's a place that you're patur. Which means the Torah doesn't have an issue with you taking something from there to a Reshut Rabim or to a Reshut Yachid. Remember we said a Makom Patur is a place that's less than 4x4, that's higher than 3 Tvachim in Reshut Rabim. So it's not a private domain, but it's not public, because it's separated from the public domain. So it's a Makom that's Patur. You can't be over, you cannot transgress the violation of the Oraita of Hotza'ah from such a place and to such a place. But Abaye says, 1 second, but maybe the Chachamim got strict with this place. And they created a domain that is Asur Midrabanan, which is called a Carmelit, out of his hand. A fascinating Shaila. Okay, I think we should stop after the Shaila, right? Ba'i Abaye. Yadosh Adamau, Sheteostek a Carmelit. Mikansu Rabbanan lehadura legabei, Allah. If I place my hand outdoors and it's or indoors and it's full, you see this? If my hand is considered a Carmelit now, right? So now my hand is a Carmelit. So now I'm taking, if I go like this, back. Your wife says to you, stop, what are you doing? Don't put it down in the Reshut Hayachid. I'm standing outdoors. And there's a window or whatever, a door opens, and I say, oh, I want to give you this honey, it's delicious, look. Someone says, stop, don't put it down, you're going to be over on Isur D'Oraita. I say, okay, I won't do anything. So Abaye says, yeah, what about going back? You want to keep walking, you want to go back home. Could you go like this? Problem is, if you go like this, you're taking from this honey jar, which is situated on this little island called a Carmelit. And now, you're going to go like this. Where's this hand? Now that the hand is in the same Reshut as the body, it's Reshut HaRabim. So you went from a Carmelit to a different domain. That is the Isur, the Rabbanan. You're not allowed to go from a Carmelit to a Reshut HaRabim or a Carmelit to a Reshut Yachid. So maybe it should be prohibited, if it's a Carmelit, you should have to stand there for the next 24 hours. That's what Rabbi is asking. Now, if your hand's going to fall off and it becomes, okay, fine, you'll have people have this question. Or maybe, although the Chachamim didn't give you a knas. They didn't fine you for doing that. And they allowed you to put your hand back in. Bezat Hashem will see on Purim the answer to this great question.